Cardano has held up incredibly well during this moment of volatility within the crypto market. In this video, we're going to be jumping down into the price action for ADA to see what's been going on and what I think might actually be happening next here with Cardano's price. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, selecting all the notifications, and you will stay up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Now, if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, go ahead and check it out. Links in the description below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's a centralized hub of everything cheeky, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. So go ahead and check it out. Okay, let's get right into this. Right here we have Cardano's ADA paired up with USDT on the hourly chart. Binance is the data source, and as you can see, we've seen some pretty interesting moments of volatility. Okay, so we just want to talk about my kind of yellow boxes on here just for a moment. Okay, so we have initially this little yellow box down here. This was basically the end of structure, and we saw a pretty good run to the upside. Okay, but this was always a fourth wave movement to the upside, meaning that we're still expecting a final kind of push down a little bit lower. Okay, so if we kind of zoom out of here, you can kind of see that this is a C wave low point. Now, inside of this, I look at this as a 1, 2, 3 coming up here into 4 and then down in 5, right? But, you know, there is a little bit of overlap in this. So we kind of hit a bit of a reset and we kind of reassess the position. Kind of thinking of this high point up here as a bit of like a reset on momentum indicators and things like that. Now, with the shift in the crypto space with FTX, FTT, and BlockFi, and a few others that will probably come to light soon, we have to kind of expect that there's going to be some turbulence when it comes to the price action of ADA. And you know, my thoughts on this haven't really changed terribly too much. I was originally talking about 28 to 34 cent with a theoretical low point of 22.23. That pretty much remains exactly the same. They haven't really changed. It's held up incredibly well, and I think it's going to remain holding up incredibly well. Unlike some of these other platforms with these altcoins, Cardano has a pretty wide distribution, so it's not really heavily controlled by one or two entities, so it kind of holds up reasonably well. That being said, you do expect some retail and some institutional players to kind of get shaken out from time to time, or kind of, you know, get a little bit nervous and want to not be exposed to the risk and therefore potentially sell. So we want to be a little bit aware that, yeah, there's going to be some turbulence, but it's not going to be massive. I don't think we're going to see huge pulls to the downside from where we are now, but we have obviously come down reasonably well so far, and we should acknowledge that. So when we take a look at this, we kind of have our little demand area here. This is basically an area that we kind of pushed our way through resistance. As you can kind of see all this resistance in here, we pushed through it, we turned it into a support line. We were trying to keep it as support, but it came back into our resistance. Okay, so this is basically where the selling pressure comes in. So I'm just going to go ahead and rename this now supply, because essentially that's what this has become. This has become a supply zone for Cardano. This is where the sellers like to be. So as you can kind of see that right in here. Now, the bigger yellow box at the bottom, I can pull this across here, for example. You can kind of see this is the area that we were looking at previously. We kind of came all the way down, we come back up, and we're kind of retesting this zone right now. So this basically would be the demand zone at the moment. Right down here, you can see that we wicked in and we came right way back out again. So I'm not optimistic enough to think that we're not going to push through this, but you know, we'll have to see. I think that at the moment, the climate pretty much is full of sellers rather than buyers, but you know, under the right circumstances, it could be a pretty good dollar cost averaging position, if you ask me. Now, 31.98 cent to 33.76 cent, you know, anywhere around in this kind of area between anything lower than 34 cent to me feels like a good place to be dollar cost averaging. But you know, I still think better prices are coming. So, and I say dollar cost average, it's like, you know, you've got a couple of $100 or whatever, you're going to throw it into Cardano, slowly building a position, right? This is not something that you go, right, I've got 10K, I'm going to drop it all right now at 34 cent, right? That wouldn't necessarily be the right idea. But you know, I'm not a financial advisor. I can't give you financial advice. All I can tell you is what I would personally do and how I would approach this. I would be looking at either slowly dollar cost averaging in or waiting for much better prices to kind of appear here. Now, as I said, we got this low point of 22.23. This is actually a Y wave on a big macro scale, right? So we can't ignore it. It's definitely something that we've been talking about for months down there. Although people might not think that it's possible, and equally so, it might not be. There's going to be a lot of buying pressure in these low zones. So I want to keep it in mind that it's a possible low point, but dollar cost averaging anywhere between or anything lower than 34 cent is a reasonable kind of expectation, I think, on getting a good position into ADA ahead of wherever the crypto space goes next. So just going to keep that in mind. Now, from an Elliott wave theory point of view, there's a lot of bouncing going on here. So if I go ahead and actually bring in some of these structures, I think that we are probably going to be, it might be the wrong way of looking at it, but 26.86 down here. I'm just going to quickly just mark that. I just want to see if I can get some confirmations on a couple of things. Let me just remove that. I'm going to delete this fib for a second. Let me just also check one additional thing, because in here I can see that we've gone kind of 1, 2, 3 like this, right? But it's also possible that maybe this is not done. So I just want to kind of check that for 1 second here, because if I take it from here to here, and I move this over to here, we actually just come down to this low range of around 28 cents. So there's a couple of different ways of looking at it. I'm thinking maybe it's a bigger move like this that we should be expecting, but it might bounce around a little bit. If we're looking at anything kind of minor than that, yeah, it could be a little bit different, but nonetheless, I'm going to leave it there for now and assume that we got structured down towards 26 cent here on Cardano. Now, a lot of people might think what's going to be the catalyst for it. I mean, there's not going to be so much selling pressure for Cardano through FTX and things like that, but I do think it's the whole entire crypto market is going to get shaken. There's going to be a loss of faith in exchanges and exchange-based tokens, and I think a lot of that's going to compound down, and some newbie investors who are not overly familiar with kind of other cryptocurrencies like Cardano might actually create some selling pressure for it. Now, that just means there's opportunity to buy from people who are getting a little bit fearful over crypto in general, and that's going to be some fantastic purchasing opportunities. And also, people who are maybe not so familiar, getting scared off will be creating that selling pressure. So I do think the price is going to come down, but I'm not expecting, as I said, massive pulls to the downside, unlike some other cryptocurrencies that maybe are affiliated with FTX, FTT, and other kind of applications or investments from FTX, right? So there's quite a long list of potential players that we want to be a little bit cautious on, but Cardano is not on the list, and I'm pretty comfortable with where it is. And I do think that there's going to be some pretty good opportunities to build up some pretty good positions in Cardano in the coming days and weeks, months even. So do watch out for that. Now, right at the moment, we have the demand zone here, and I do think we're going to break it, and we're probably going to pull back down. Now, when we throw the momentum indicator in here, we can see that actually, well, we're not actually that bad, but unfortunately, we're going to have to follow the rest of the market. So it won't be as bad in terms of price action. It'll kind of trade sideways and kind of just gravitate its way down, in my opinion. It's not actually looking too bad at all. So we've got plenty of momentum available to us, but a lot of this stuff gets wiped out pretty quickly. So I'm not going to be sat here saying to you guys that, oh, we're going to go to the moon or anything like that. And I've gone through articles on the kind of the news sites quite a bit, saying how foolish and stupid it is to kind of think that Cardano is in a bull run. As much as I would love it to be, it isn't the case, right? And there's been a lot of speculation around that, a lot of FOMO around that. So we want to be super cautious. With all that being said, I think that opportunity for Cardano to go into a bull run is going to be massive. I think there's going to be a lot of people who turn to ADA and think that is going to be a really strong project for the next bull run, and I think it's going to perform incredibly well. It's going to get kind of go into the next few stages of its life, and it's going to start seeing a lot more in the way of applications building on it and launching on it, and I think we're going to see some really good price appreciation for ADA on the back of that. But that's going to be a long-term play. That's not something that we're going to see in this year, like 2022. It might not even be 2023. I mean, I'm optimistic. I like to think that it would be, but at the moment, the data doesn't suggest that we're going to see an end to this anytime soon. So we want to be open-minded into where the price action of Cardano is going to go. I'm looking pretty good at these spots, anywhere between 34 and 22 cents. So it's a pretty broad range at the moment. 26 stands out. But yeah, we'll leave it there, and we'll see how kind of things progress going further forward. But as I said earlier, do join us down in the Discord server. It's a centralized hub of everything we do Cheeky Crypto. If you want to be kept up to date with everything and you want to be first, then that is the place to be. We work tirelessly for our community down in Discord, and that'll be very apparent when you join down there. If you're interested, links in the description below. And on that note as well, I just want to kind of mention a couple other things worth noting, that if you haven't got yourself a hardware wallet yet, you absolutely categorically should. It is link is in the description below for Ledger. We use Ledger hardware wallets all the time, but that's not the only option out there. There's many different options. I just like the accessibility of the Ledger device. It's affordable and so forth. So that's a link to description down below. Get your crypto off those exchanges, guys. I can't stress that enough. And yeah, other than that, have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.